So, Gabe, you've done a couple of these weird skits, but today we're talking about world building, right?
Yeah.
So,
Why?
what do you define as world building?
It's kind of like putting the pieces of the world together, right?
Okay, yeah, that's a pretty good definition. But I feel like also everybody has a different one. Is that a reasonable statement?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Some people will build their worlds in very meticulous ways, and other will just start from the ground up with a bunch of random ideas.
Yeah, it's like the building blocks, the foundation.
That's exactly right. So today you wanted to do a skit, right? You wanted to do something that was communicative and interactive.
Yes, I.
And usually we do something that's like a back and forth.
Yeah, technically.
It's not weird that I said we, because this is you, technically from the past, talking to the you in the future, but at that moment it will actually be the present.
That's weird, but I guess accurate.
Yeah, I don't know why we decided to meta this. This was entirely improv, and then it just took a very strange turn. But we are
'Cause we're
committed, aren't
dumb.
we?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, we're live.
So, as you've kind of given a basis of what you feel like world building is, let's ask everyone else, shall we?
I would rather that instead of just talking to myself perpetually. Hello. Welcome to another episode of Tabletop Tabletalk with me, Gabe, also known as GabeJamesGames on Twitch, Twitter, and pretty much anywhere else on the internet. This is a show where I sit and talk with you if you are watching live, or I go through the YouTube comments and see what the rest of you want to see next time, and then we can have a conversation and a discussion and work on becoming better GMs together. Because the world has an absolutely low supply of game masters, storytellers, historians, narratives, and people that want to create. And it took me way too long to realize that I could be one of those people. It took me way too long to realize that I don't have to compare the stories and ideas I have to what other people are making, to what other people are doing, to what other people are telling. My stories can be just as interesting, but it's not about being just as interesting as like a single definition of that. There are different types of interesting to different people. You might have played with one group that the person telling the story told an amazing story, but it's not the kind of idea that you would want to tell. And I agree, the world needs more great DMs and bass players. So if you are both, you are essentially a bardic master. But there's so many aspects to do it. If you have watched the previous episodes, some of the stuff I talked about then is going to relate into the stuff now. If you haven't watched any of the previous episodes and this is your first time here, thank you for joining me on your morning, evening, afternoon, regardless of where you are. And thank you again to Roll20 for giving me this opportunity to talk about these things. I got a message literally a few days ago of someone saying they'd been watching the series and they felt like they were getting comfortable enough to DM a game themselves. And I'm like, that is everything that I could have wanted from this and more. I like telling stories, but I don't always like having to be the one to tell stories, because a lot of the time with tabletop games, the reason that I ended up being the DM, the GM, the narrator, the guide, is because no one else felt comfortable enough to do it. And it's not even like it's a fault of their own. It's literally just that it's terrifying sometimes. There's a lot of pressure. And something that can genuinely be very ominous and pressuring and weigh on you is building a world for your group to explore, or harnessing a world that your group can essentially treat as a sandbox that they can navigate through as they're trying to tell this story with you together. And world building can be huge. It can be minimal. And sometimes my world building is literally just taking notes on my phone and then reading them off as the party comes across it. So I'm going to read to you a little bit that I wrote about world building. If you've been here before, you know that maybe a third of this is going to be me talking at you. If you are talking in chat, or if you're making comments or you have ideas, please feel free to say something. If you have a question, please put question in all caps in the Twitch chat and then your question afterwards. And we'll be going through the questions part of the way through the show, towards the end of the show. If a question pops up and I'm like, ooh, that's interesting, I'm going to go off into a tangent. So please, if you have questions or ideas, feel free to bring it up, because this is not, I don't want it to be me talking at you, because that gets boring if you're listening to someone just talk at you for hours. Sometimes if you get a chance to have a conversation, it's a whole different thing. And then you can learn things through conversations, which is why some aspects of schooling can be frustrating. But that's a whole separate point. So if you've watched the previous tabletop episodes, I'd say you're properly prepared to build a world. If you haven't, I'd still say you're prepared, and we'll just work through it together. The scope of your world matters. Are you building a single town, but you decide to flesh it out to each of the residents? Are you making a whole city, but only a handful of the residents are named? Do you have an entire generational history? It varies a lot. I tried building a pantheon once. I used generators, and it was still a lot. I've used map creators. I've used village city creators. And it is still a lot. I have played with someone who had literally ideas for 2-3 generations back of 12 different NPCs. I think it was 12. I remember 12. That sounds right. And it was amazing. And it was also a little daunting, because I'm like, do I have to do that to be a good GM? Do I have to have all of that lore going back to be like interesting and engage my party and feel like they can be involved in this world? And the answer is no, you don't have to. You can, but like finding the party for you and the group for you and all of those other things, how much you want to do and how much the party wants to do can be different things, but there are going to be ways that it coincides. So right off the bat, the first thing that I want to ask you is, what are some of your favorite worlds? They can be worlds from tabletop games. They can be worlds from video games. They can be worlds from stories that you read. They can be worlds from stories that you wrote. What were some of your favorite worlds that you've seen, and why? It could be that the world building aspect you loved the most was the characters that were in the world. It could be the world building aspect that you love the most was the locations. It could be the biomes. It could be the lore behind so many different things. What were your favorite worlds? A prime example is Dungeons and Dragons. I looked into a bunch of the different areas, and one of my favorites is Faerun, a magical place with so much lore into it, so many different creatures that are entirely out of what I might have expected, and I adore them. Macbeth said the Witcher's world. The world of The Witcher is intense, dark and grimy, yeah. And I'm a big fan. There's so much lore that goes into it. I think one of my favorite aspects of the Witcher world is how the people have come to have their power. The story behind the Witchers, the story behind the groups of sorceresses and mages, the story behind like the Tevinter mages, all of that stuff. Ooh, Curse of Strahd. Curse of Strahd, yes. Curse of Strahd brings you into such an interesting place. You have the entirety of Barovia. You have Strahd, who is a looming power. And I feel like Barovia itself is interesting, but one of the most interesting pieces of that world is, I mean, to no surprise, since it's named after him, Strahd. If you had Strahd in a completely different place, he would still be an amazing aspect to your world building story. And he sticks out. Salty Ginger says, my home game DM has a city, aka a garden, called Viria. He's invested so much into its lore. And the fact that you say that means that you actively have been intrigued in it. You've cared about it. You were curious about it. The lore made a difference for you and it stuck out to you. Honestly, one of the most strangely convoluted games that I adore is... wow, my brain just fell out. Divinity Original Sin. They had the team that did that is Larian, I think it's Larian, and they recently released the early access for the Baldur's Gate 3 game. And one of the reasons I loved Divinity is because it wasn't just the design of the world. It was the interaction that I had with the NPCs in the world and all of the little puzzles and questions that I had. It was like if I was playing in a tabletop game, someone had a huge chart of different little quirks and ideas and quests and little hints for stuff to follow. And sometimes for building a world, that's my favorite thing. I love charts. I love charts for characters because even if you just tell them it's a city, it's full of elves, dwarves, orcs, humans, all kinds of figures. And there's a blacksmith shop and a tavern and a potion shop and an alchemist and all sorts of stuff. You didn't really set the stage per se for like the visual representation of the city. But what you could have emphasized is, and as you walk up to this person and you roll that chart and you pull something from that chart and it turns out that the first person that they bump into is actually an elf by the name of Skadur. And this elf is actually holding on to a secret, and they're looking at the party curious and concerned. And it's because they're wondering what they're going to do next. One of the things that I did months ago was I made a chart of 100 rumors. And that chart of 100 rumors is literally just for the GM who has a party in a tavern. And there are different people in the tavern, but they don't really know what the party wants to do next. They're trying to find that next hook, that next adventure, that next driving factor. So I made the chart so the GM could literally just roll the D100, get a number. And then one of the rumors was, did you hear about random NPC name? Apparently, her sheep have been turning into crows. It's the strangest thing. And that's why there's so many different aspects to world building, and it's exciting. If you have a favorite aspect, that's okay. It's okay to have a favorite piece of building the world, and that's what you want to put the most time and effort into, because that might be what pulls people in the most. I didn't really outline a vastly intriguing city, but I have given some of these characters very interesting notions, very interesting backstories. And when the characters have interesting backstories, I can then tie it more into the world. I can describe the world more based off of the characters that I was building up. I love fictional versions of real cities, like NYC and Call of Cthulhu, and my version of New Orleans for Urban Shadows. Love combining familiarity with the supernatural. I 100% agree. That's why we have amazing games like Seattle by Streetlight and LA by Night. Because you can pull the aspects of familiarity and then add in interesting parts that you want to see, parts that you want to know, parts that you want to have. I was playing in a game not too long ago that we were playing a game of masks, and it took place in Canada because that was where the GM was from. They were from Canada. So they pulled in aspects of their actual life and their location into this like supernatural, superpowered world, and I could tell that the familiarity made a difference. Pulling from what you know and what you're comfortable with and what you remember is not a bad thing, because it means that you have more of a knowledge in it. So I want us today to spend more time actually having an interactive experience, because we've talked a lot in the past for like an hour and a half and a lot of back and forth, but I kind of just want to create today. It is October. It's not necessarily spooky. Well, it is spooky season, but for some people it's just fall. But October always feels like it's great for telling stories, because there's all kinds of stories to tell. So let's start building a world. And all of you can give me ideas and suggestions, because I want them. I don't want this to just be Gabe's world. I want it to be the Tabletop world, which sounds way less intimidating in that notion. But don't worry, it might be horrifying for anyone else. And if this is a world you like, feel free to use it in your games. Feel free to introduce it to other people, because that's the fun of building worlds. Hello, Pride. So I want, if you are familiar with the world of Full Metal Alchemist at all, it's got large hints of fantasy. It also has large hints of like leaning towards closer to modern day, very steampunk, esque with like the technological levels, reaching more towards like the Monster Hunter, Van Helsing kind of thing. I want us to build a world that is closer to that sort of technological advancement, that sort of time period. So right off the bat, we have this entire map to work with. One of the most important things for me with world building is biomes. If you don't know what the world means, a biome is a large naturally occurring community of flora and fauna occupying a major habitat. So like a forest or a tundra or a desert. It's like, what are the different biomes like? So I want us to come up with, to start, 3 different biomes to work in. It could be frosty mountains. It could just be a mountain land. It could be forest. It could be I almost said plastlands. Grasslands. It could be plains. 3 different biomes to work with. Give me any options. There is let's just list off, and like swamps. Swamps are biomes. Rainforests. Savannas. Different types of forests, shrublands, grasslands, Arctic tundra, alpine tundra, anything. Arctic. Okay. Arctic is one of them. I'm going to write it down right now after I get a writing utensil, because I am a prepared human being. Ooh, Desert Plateau is also a good one. Absolutely do it. Turn those ideas you have and those worlds you love into adventures. So let's see. The ideas we have are Arctic, Desert Plateau, and keep saying ideas, because we got plenty of them. Ooh, plastlands, field contaminated by self-replicating plastics. That's horrifying, and I kind of love it. Stormy rocky coast. Okay. Ooh, expanding cavern system. I said it last time, and I'll say it again, but you are all very chaotically creative, popping up from time to time. I'm going to write that down because I want all of that. And I said at least 3. And if I didn't say at least 3, I'm going to change it to say at least 3, because the more we have, the more interesting it is. Swampy marsh. Because as we're building this world, as we're coming up with the ideas, we can expand it in any way that we want to. So right off the bat, then, we have ideas for... We're going to build a world. Ooh, floating mountains. Yes. So we have ideas for a sweltering jungle, an Arctic, a desert plateau, a tall redwood forest, a stormy rocky coast, an expanding cavern system that spreads under lands popping up from time to time, a swampy marsh, floating mountains in the air. You know what? I am going to make a good choice. I'm gonna write plenty of these down so we actually have them to reference. Because I'm not going to say a lot, but a fair amount of ideas that I want us to go into. Okay, well, I didn't like the way that text came up. Aha. So, Arctic. I almost spelled desert like dessert. And I don't think it's because I'm hungry, because I just ate. Cavern system. I mean, but in retrospect, I'm actually probably always hungry. So. So there's some of them. And then let me add the rest. And we have Swampy Marsh, Sweltering Jungle. Also, I'm very proud of you all actually using like descriptive words. And I don't feel like we're told that people are proud of us often enough anyways. So here are some of the ideas that we had. I'm going to move that over a little bit just so it doesn't. And then fix cavern system because it's bothering me that it's going off the edge. Okay, so these are not all of the ideas that we're going to have, but these are some of the ones that we have to start with. But are you hydrated? Oh my gosh. Well, you know what? Yes, I am. So, okay, we have a swampy marsh. We have a sweltering jungle. We have floating mountains. We have a tall redwood forest. We have an Arctic. We have a desert plateau. We have a stormy rocky coast. We have an expanding cavern system. Right off the bat, I feel like this region that we have, it's not necessarily super friendly just to like humanoids that live in this area. The general people that populate it, or they had to work and develop technology and magic and connections to make it work, to make it actually flow together, to be able to actually survive in this place. And sometimes the need to make a place survivable actually turns out to making it the most interesting. So we have all of these different biomes to work in. So then my next question. We have all these different areas. What are some types of weather that we want? And you don't have to come up with weather that affects specific areas alone. But the question is, what types of weather do you want to see in this world? Are there storms? Are there snowstorms? Are there rainstorms? Is there like and when I'm asking for the weather, let's make this a world where magic does exist. Magic is prevalent. Magic is a part of nature. So if you want a acidic firestorm that comes down from the sky once every year so that the people who live in this place have actually adjusted their shelter to activate that one time a year, which is, now that I'm thinking about it, that's actually a really cool concept. But yes, let's talk weather. Magical electrical storms that seem to pop up out of nowhere. Because as we get weather, we get ideas. Before we go even too far into that, I still want to hear weather, but so magical electric storms that pop out of nowhere means that they could have a magical like iron rod that's up to draw in that energy. Ooh. Yeah. A dam system that would filter the water too, which would make the rainstorms actually a better thing because they have to work through those issues. Let's see. What can I think of for magical weather? Well, I did say firestorms. So I think I'm a big fan of that. Firestorms. Electric storms from nowhere. Ooh, crystal blizzards. And so tell me, are the crystal blizzards actual crystals falling from the sky? Are they cold? Do they melt? Or can some of them actually be preserved? Are they like a magic crystal that someone can hold and it's like a diamond, but it's also cold to the touch? Does that make that place a richer place because they have these crystal blizzards? Do you see at least a little bit of what I'm getting at with like the random ideas that you have for your world building, even just from weather, can create some of the most beautiful stories? So crystal blizzards. Ooh, huge swaths of magical darkness that manifest in different areas. That's scary. That's terrifying as hell. It's just like they see almost like miasma coming from the ground or something, and then it's just a burst of darkness. And maybe only certain objects can see through magical darkness, and like plenty of fantasy worlds, there are abilities to see the magical darkness, but not everyone has them. Okay. Nightmare storms. Ooh, that's ominous. We are building a very like grim dark world here, and I'm so okay with it. So okay with it. Okay. I am going to save all of these. Oh, the crystals. Yeah, that makes sense. What if the crystals could be used to see in the magical darkness? Rain that crystallizes anything it falls on. That's scary as hell. That's scary as hell, and I am honestly very all for it. Bliss Fog. That's interesting. So okay, so the rain that crystallizes anything that falls down, that would be really ominous. That would be really ominous because then it's like people have to actually make sure they're properly dressed. People have to make sure that they're safe. People have to make sure that they're not dealing with any issues. But then the Bliss Fog, people get super chill and friendly. Honestly, what if the Bliss Fog like it's almost like something that comes seasonally? And it's like a festival day. It's like Bliss Day. It's the day that everyone allows themselves to just be happy and comfortable and content. So because they were like neglecting their work and their jobs for so long in the past, they decided to make this then a holiday where they just relax. And it's not even that the fog is an unhealthy thing. They've checked and it's magically induced by pixies or anything. And none of this is something that is specifically me saying this is how it should be. No, this is me word storming, brainstorming, that one. But it like I like that idea. Yeah, maybe it's a pixie migration, and when they all go to one area or leave one area or pass over one area, it pulls in the magic of the pixies and it creates this sense of like just happiness. And it's not even something that affects their body in a negative way. It's not something that's like related into addiction in any way. It's literally just, it's almost like that feeling when you're outside and you are not bothered by allergies. It's not too hot. It's not too cold. The air smells fresh. Like sometimes people love the smell of fresh flowers. And maybe the way it works is that inside of this Bliss Fog, it recreates their favorite smell. For one person, it's baked bread. For another person, it's roses. For another person, it's literally the smell of like hot iron. Maybe the Bliss Fog affects other people differently just because it's so magically enticed. No, phone, I don't need you right now. I can do this. But thank you for trying to help, phone. I appreciate you. Ooh, I'm a big fan of this Bliss Fog. Okay, so I need to take a picture. Okay, there we go. Da-da-da-da. Ba-da-ba-ba. Ba-da-ba. All right. I'm recording all of the things because I like also sharing this process. Okay, so we have a bunch of different biomes. So what I want to do next is, actually, you know what? Yes. So let's take a look at our weathers. And we have a bunch. We have crystal blizzards. If I can spell. We have Bliss Fog. We have nightmare storms. And you know what? Maybe they even appreciate the Bliss Fog so much more because of living in this hard to survive area. Because of living in this harsh environment. It's literally one of the things they look forward to most because it's calming, it's relaxing, it's safe. Rain that crystallizes. Magical darkness. I think that was most of them, right? A tornado that sucks up water and generates rainbow colors during the day. 100%. 100% the tornado. 100%. I almost called that Rainbow NATO. I don't know if that would fit. But I still loved it. You know what? I'm just... Makes rainbow. And is there anything else that I missed? Tor Rainbow. I kind of love that. A lot. Oh, magical electric storms. That's it. Magical electrical storms and then my firestorm. Can't forget that. Lord. All right. I'm gonna make this a little smaller just so it all fits on there. Okay, so these are the weathers that we've come up with. Crystal blizzards, bliss fog, firestorm, magical electrical storms from nowhere. Nailed it. Tornado that sucks up water and that makes a rainbow. Rain that crystallizes anything that it falls on. Nightmare storms that affect people in like a psychological sense. And then a magical darkness that expands in a wide area and seemingly pops up from nowhere. It's been half an hour, and we've already come up with biomes, which include swampy marsh, sweltering jungle, floating mountains, tall redwood forest, an Arctic, a desert plateau, a stormy rocky coast, an expanding cavern system, and now we have a weather system with all of these different types of weather that we would have in our world. And I spelled tornado wrong. I'm like, something about that looks wrong. I can't figure out what it is. Tornado. But so now we're starting to build what this region is like. And as we started to build what this region was like, we literally are re-emphasizing the idea the people who live here probably don't have it super easy. The people who live here have probably gone through a lot of issues trying to make this home their own, this place their own, this world their own. They're working with and against the magic of nature, which can be a terrifying thing oftentimes. So we have some biomes. We have some weather. So let's make some cities. Let's make some cities, some towns, places that people can live. So what are these cities like? And actually, you know what? I'm going to make it easier on myself and all of us. I'm going to keep the weathers up, and then I'm going to hide them. I'm going to rewrite the different biomes that we had so that we can see them all at the same time. That way, as we're building the cities that we want, the cities can be where we want them to be. Make sense? All right. So let's see. What ones do I need? Something marsh. Sweltering jungle. And honestly, they don't even have to be in any of the areas that we came up with already. But so, just so we have them back, so we can actually look at them. Here are the previous biomes that we came up with. So where are these cities located and what are they like? Is there a city or just a village in the swampy marsh? Is there an entire city in the floating mountains? Is there a small town in the Arctic or the Desert Plateau? For the stormy rocky coast, is there a place, are there homes built into the side of it? Huge mangrove trees from the base of the swampy city. Big ships dock near shore. Smaller boats, buses, and taxis move beneath. Yes. And right now, there's so much of it coming in. A city built into the walls of a massive crevice that stretches for miles. Coastal cities would be popular, especially if they get Bliss Fog. That's true. That's true. What if, okay, so if it's coastal cities, what if the Bliss Fog is from magical sea creatures like mermaids and sirens? What if it's sirens reacting and maybe they like shed their fin scales or something, and then eventually it evaporates in the water around a certain season, and then it creates the Bliss Fog as it rises from the water, and that's why coastal cities are so popular. Ooh, I love this. I'm here for it. Okay, let's see. And what I'm doing is I'm making like a document with all of these ideas. Bliss whale breathing out. Yes. Oh, I like that. A bliss whale. And I think the bliss whale is probably extremely strong, so people can't really hunt it per se. Let's see. Bliss whale. Sirens on a concert tour around the coast. I'm really not opposed to that. And we're also adding in a little bit of like happiness and joy, or maybe not even joy, but just fun to this world that we're building. So let's see. I keep asking other people for ideas, but I need to give more. What are the areas we have? A domed city or village where they harvest the crystal rain. Ooh, yes. Yes, absolutely. 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 Oh, absolutely. I'm here for it. Okay. Uh, I want. I think on the stormy, rocky coast. Well, no, because we have a little bit of the coast. Let's go with the Desert Plateau, actually. And I want the Desert Plateau to be the place that experiences simultaneously the magical darkness and the lightning storms. I want the lightning when it hits the ground, because it's so bright, it's actually pulling in all of the light of the surrounding area when it hits the ground, and it creates that magical dark fog. It's almost like it's a fog and smoke at the same time. And it eventually might dissipate, but it's so sudden, so that when they see lightning strike, they're not just terrified of the lightning because of the danger. They're terrified of the lightning because even when it strikes, even wherever it strikes, it's going to be almost impossible to see in that spot. The lightning just literally pulls the light into it. Yeah, the lightning hits. Yes, I like it. So a city where the lightning hits with massive ironworks and exports the lightning rods, primary supplier in the region for metal and metalworks. And if they have that rod, then it's perfect. City that resides on the back of massive sea creatures that migrate the oceans of the world. Absolutely. I feel like the dark area would be pretty wide. I feel like it would be pretty wide, and the way that the city avoids it below is that they have that rod that is high up, so that when it strikes it, it actually creates such a wide dark area of the fog and the mist that they can't see through it. That it creates a magical darkness, and it's almost like an eclipse above their heads. And maybe for some people that's good. Maybe there's like vampires that live in the city that actually love when that storm comes, because when it strikes and it spreads out, it means that they can wander freely. They can wander comfortably. I love the idea of this world, and it's also terrifying. So don't quote me on this. Don't quote me on this. But as we build more and more, I know someone will. That's fine. I accept it. As we build more and more of this world, as it comes more and more to life, maybe there'll be a one shot of this world put out. Or if I end up having a bit more time in the next month, maybe I'll come up with a bit of a idea or setting book. That's a free thing. I don't want to make money off this, because in this moment, as you've all given me suggestions, I've also been making sure I actively take your names, because I want you to be proud and be credited and be excited for these things that we're building together in this little world. Even if it's just a PDF notebook of all the ideas that we made. I said a PDF. I meant to say a page, but also a PDF. Dang it, Pride. You literally quoted me. It'd be excited to see it real and see that you contributed to this world coming together, because sometimes that's one of the best ways that we build worlds, together. That's why I like world building with the party, because literally in the circumstance right now, we could literally be a party that's getting ready to play a tabletop game together, and we're trying to decide what the world we're going to play in is like. Subterranean Arctic town inside lava tubes, heated with steam and from the earth. Ooh, oh, they have lava tubes inside. Oh. That's neat. Also terrifying. Okay. See? Maybe there are vampire surveyors that try to predict the darkness storms, or a festival surrounded around an area where the darkness storms are frequent. Yeah, this world seems both terrifying and really interesting. And I like that we've come up with a combination of things that are very dangerous, things that are mildly dangerous, and things that are just interesting. Snow is formed near the entrances from the escaping humid air there. That's very cool. Oh my gosh. Hold on. Okay. So we've been sitting here for stream thing, tell me, 43 minutes. Okay. From the top. Oh God, I almost sang the song. Let's go through what we have created together. How's that sound? Oh Lord. Okay, there's a lot of things to write for the other stuff, so I don't know if I'm going to get through all of it. But I don't even know why I got rid of them. I'm going back to them. Right off the bat, we came up with a bunch of biomes to work with in this world. Swampy marshes, sweltering jungles, tall redwood forest, floating mountains, arctics, desert plateaus, stormy rock coast, and expanding cavern systems. It sounds kind of terrifying, but still pretty cool. But what is the weather like in these places? Well, it can have crystal blizzards. It can have literally almost like a snowstorm where hard crystallized objects fall from the sky. And it could be that some of them are just, not all of them, but some of them, when they fall down, they're everlasting. The rest may melt, but the people in the areas try to harvest the ones that stay preserved because they're like magical ice crystals. There is a Bliss Fog that is formed from one or a variety of creatures, mainly from the sea. And it's when the weather gets hot and it evaporates up and it creates a sense of bliss, a sense where those wandering through the fog will smell the thing that they enjoy the most. They'll be reminded of happy times. Their skin will feel soft. Their body will be not in an over-exaggerated state, but just a state of happiness and joy and calm and peace and relaxation. There are firestorms where fire literally just storms down from a cloud, almost like a tornado. There are magical electrical storms that pop up from seemingly nowhere. And sometimes, even when they do, they can create a magical darkness that when it strikes the ground or it strikes an object, there's almost like all of the light in the area is pulled away to be replaced by a magical darkness. There's a tornado sometimes that will suck up water, and then when it blows it out, it creates a beautiful rainbow. There is rain that falls, and when it falls, it literally crystallizes anything it comes into contact with. Is it a permanent crystallization? Is it temporary? Who knows? And there are nightmare storms. Storms of psionic, magical chaos. It can affect people that are sleeping, or it can send them into almost like a sleep paralysis sense, where they're stuck and are affected by actual nightmares. But there is a lot more to this world. There are dozens of places that people live in this world. There are huge mangrove trees that form at the base of the swamp city. Big ships dock near shore. There's smaller boats and like buses and taxis move beneath. There's a city built into the walls of massive crevices that stretch for miles. The coastal cities are actually pretty popular, especially if they get the Bliss Fog. There's sirens who actually sometimes have a concert tour that go around the coast, occasionally to the cities where the Bliss Fog is. There's even a bliss whale occasionally that can be seen breathing out clouds of the stuff. There is a domed city that harvests the crystal rain, and it's very clever. They have a whole process for it. It's not even so much that it's really near a largely frozen area. It's on the edges of the Arctic, but it can get wild there. There's a desert plateau where the lightning strikes and it creates a darkness. There's a city where the lightning hits, and it's the massive ironworks. It might actually be the same city as the Desert Plateau. And it exports the lightning rods as the primary supplier in the region for metal and metalworkers. There are some cities that reside on the backs of massive sea creatures that migrate the oceans of the world. There's a tortoise caravan that's moving around the city in the desert as well. There's an Arctic town. And inside, a subterranean Arctic town. And inside there are lava tubes that are heated with steam and from the earth. And snow is formed near the entrances from the escaping humid air there. Honestly, maybe even with the Iron Town we mentioned, there are vampire surveyors that try to predict the darkness storms. Or there's a festival centered around an area where the darkness storms are so frequent. They might even use some of those crystals, which are exported from the domed city, to magically light their way inside of this darkness. It's one of the things that can shine through this magical darkness. Now, if that's not an interesting world, I am all here for it. Wow. And all we did was come up with individual city ideas. Each of us came up with 1 to 3. We came up with the different biome ideas. We came up with different weather ideas. And we didn't even have to link the different areas or the different weathers or the different biomes specifically to any of the places that we had. But we're pulling these ideas together. We're world building. And I like doing it this way, and this is not the only way that I do it, but I like doing it this way because as we pull these different ideas together and then just like, all right, this circle, this circle, this circle, and these are the biomes, these are the areas, these are the weathers. Then we can drag, combine them together. All right, this is this whole idea, and it's going here. We have ideas that we can bounce off of already, or we can make completely new ones. And in less than 50 minutes, we have honestly a pretty well-designed world. So let's go into some of the details of this world. So let's see. We have all of these different places. The domed city, the desert plateau, the coastal city. And I feel like there's one for you that you really liked, that you really held on to. What are some landmarks in these places? What are some symbolizing things in these places? We mentioned, I say we, I mentioned that giant rod that we're not going to talk about that. I mentioned the gigantic metallic object um, that is in the center of the city. A golden bliss whale. I like it. But yeah, so what are some landmarks, things of note in these different areas? I acknowledge literally nothing. None of it. I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, so a golden bliss whale. I like it. I hear a little bit of feedback and I don't like it. Ah, that should help. Okay, yes, it did. Cool, 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 cool. Um, golden bliss whale. Let's. Okay. Vampire capital city. Yes, that's a good one. That is. I'll be honest. I did clip that. I know who I am. It was hilarious. Um, ancient craft ship near the coastal town. Yes, that's perfect. As you're coming up with these ideas, I'm going to do something to hopefully fix that. A large lake that has a whirlpool in the center of it. That's cool. Also terrifying because it's just perpetually going. What is causing that? I guess what the coastal cities are built near ancient coral labyrinths. Ooh. Also, I like that your name is Butt Prince. Shout out to Butt Prince. Um, airship graveyard in the floating mountains. Ooh. Yes, which means I well, if there's an airship graveyard, are there airship pirates? Big metal statues made from the lightning's metal. Yeah. A field of craters from the lightning that misses the rock. Yep. That's actually a really good that's a really good choice. Okay, let's see. Dig that coral labyrinth and the crash it near the coastal town. Okay. These are a lot of options. Okay. So, all right. Ancient. Ooh. If you have more, please. Ancient civilization. So, if you're just coming in, we're coming up with like different landmarks for different areas in the world we're building. Ancient civilization ruins inside of the underground caverns that are spreading. Yes. Maybe one of the massive sea creatures resides in an inland sea or large lake with no explanation of how it got there. Ah, like almost like a Loch Ness creature sort of situation. And there's no way it reasonably could have gotten in, but it is just there.
That's unique. I am a fan. I am a fan. Test. Da, 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 da. Does this sound better? I feel like it's about the same. Oh well, it was something that I did to try to get rid of some of my background noise, preferably. Okay, cool, 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 cool. Bat-like race that lives in the redwood forest. Local legend like a flying Sasquatch. Oh my god. I like the idea. What is that? A sort of glassy, jagged part where the lightning kept. Ooh, the lightning kept striking the sand, so it did turn to like a glassy kind of sense. That's interesting. Oh, that was weird. I just heard my voice do a thing. I didn't like that. Okay, the flying Sasquatch. All right. Hell yeah, these are a lot of good ideas. These are a lot of good ideas. Okay. Okay. All right. So let's see. We have. Oh, all right. Let's just go down the list. We're going to go down the list of the different landmarks that you all suggested. Something in the area with the magical darkness to help navigate people like a lighthouse with sound. Yes. That's really interesting. Cause it like it's almost like uh the echolocation, which maybe it was inspired by the bat-like race that lives in the redwood forest. Maybe they're the ones who were trying to make that suggestion. Ah, teamwork. I'm a fan. All right. Let's see. Okay, okay, okay. So we have a vampire capital city, a golden bliss whale. Oh, that was weird. My voice did a thing and I didn't like it. Didn't like it. Anyways, um, we have the golden bliss whale. We have a large lake that has a whirlpool in the center of it, a big metal statue made from the lightning's metal, a field of craters from the lightning that misses the rod, ancient civilization ruins inside the underground caverns that are spreading. Maybe one of the massive sea creatures resides in an inland sea or large lake with no explanation for how it got there. The idea of a sort of glassy, jagged part where the lightning kept striking the sand. Something in the area with imaginal darkness to help people navigate like a lighthouse but with sound. A bat-like group that lives in the redwood forest. The Lochal legends. The Lochal legends refer to them as like a flying Sasquatch. An airship graveyard in the floating mountains. The coastal cities are built near ancient coral labyrinths. An ancient crashed, like, oh, blah, 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 blah. An ancient crashed ship near the coastal town. But it could also be related to the airship graveyard. Maybe one of the airships actually had tried to dock near the graveyard, had issues, overshot the graveyard because they were trying to loot the area, and then crashed near the coastal town instead. Ooh. Ooh. And you know what? With that whole echolocation thing we mentioned, maybe there are specific devices devices that have a tonal ping to the tower or towers that someone is looking for. Hello, anyone popping in. So we are building a world. We have just talked, we have previously talked biomes. We have talked landmarks just now. We have talked weather. We have talked, look, Lord, what have we talked? We talked about lots of actual like cities and villages and towns. So we talked landmarks. Now, we have all of these different areas. We have all of these different landmarks. We have all of these different ideas. Even if you're just coming in or if you've been here the whole time, any of the ideas that you have are warranted here. Let's talk characters. What are some NPCs that are in these places? And we've already had ideas for them, like the Bat Folk that are like the flying Sasquatch. Is anyone residing in that airship graveyard? Who resides in the coastal cities? We can absolutely have a vampire queen. Why not? This is our world. We can have anything that like we can build it up. Airship pirates, undead airship pirates. Yes. Bones Malone and their skeleton crew. Oh, I'm so mad at myself, but I'm not at the same time. Crystal collector is kind of like farming. Yeah. Because these can be as specific or as vague as you would like them to be. So let's see. A vampire queen. Has to have it. We need a vampire queen. In the undead pirates are amazing. Arctic jackalopes. Look out for lost travelers. Yes to undead airship pirates. I like the idea of the crystal collectors that are farming. Siren wave dancers that are like flying fish. Yes. Clever. And anyone who is coming in now, anyone who is watching on YouTube, please also feel free to still just come up with ideas, because you can pull ideas from what we're talking about here now. You can save ideas for something you want to put into your world. This is just us building up a world, and none of these ideas are really like, this is my idea, you can never use it, I'm not sharing. We're doing this as a collaboration on purpose. We're doing this as a collaboration because honestly, I enjoy collaboration on things like this. I enjoy world building together. And if one of these ideas really resonates with you and you're like, wow, that's amazing, I kind of want to put that in my world, I reinforce doing it. That's what this show is. That's the beauty of working in things together. That is what I want Tabletop Tabletalk to be. I'm doing this because I want people to be more comfortable. I want them to have ideas. I want them to feel creative, because you are all chaotically creative in the best possible way. If you decide, you know what, undead airship pirates, I did like the other things, none of it all really stuck out, but I am going to save that idea to put into my thing, and then just listen to this for any ideas that you might want to adapt to your games. Heck yes. Hell yeah, do it. Create. Make new things. Be inspired. So if you are watching this on YouTube later, if you're watching live now, if you're just hopping in from Twitch chat at any point, if any of these things inspire you, take it and run with it. That's the beauty of this. That's the fun of this. That's what I want this to be. All right, now I'm going back to being distracted by ideas. There should be a horrible, noble class that makes the population find those crystals in the mines. You know what? They could be remnants of it. What if they've already been taken out? What if there was already a revolution? What if they were the ones who were trying to get away on the airships and then they crashed? People made of magical hard light. Oh no. How did the people made of magical hard light survive in the darkness? Are they terrified of it? Will it kill them? What if it kills them? I am way more invested in that than I thought I ever would be. I accept it. Okay. Why do I have two documents open? Oh, that's what it is. Okay. Run document. Okay, so let's see what else. Non-vampire priests who collect blood from the faithful for their leaders in the vampire capital city. I mean, that makes sense. It's if they do it in a way that's like non-hostile, it makes sense that they could survive. Could be common. It could be normal. Common. Cloud City with small gondola airships that go in between the islands. That makes a lot of sense. If people can't fly, how do they travel normally? Metalworkers are a highly trained union collective, philosophically bound to work together. Yes. Swamp bus drivers. Lightning cultists that wear metal rods on their heads. Oh no! Oh, it's a horrifying idea, but I kind of like it. "30 minutes of day-night thing for a vamp, small tribes. Queen Rhaena's trying to unite them. Yes. Oh my gosh, it'd be a sensory deprivation tank for them. Okay. So literally with all anglerfish like wyverns that live in the magical darkness. No. Oh no. A vampire meets a hard sunlight person. Maybe it's love. Maybe that's Rhaena's forbidden love. So they meet in the darkness instead. What have you all done to me? Something that lives in the nightmare storm and feeds off the fear. Oh yeah. If It would be funny if the lightning rod cult accidentally discovered electrical power. Okay. All right. So yes. Oh my gosh. I'm looking at this list. Let me read through this list for you. Vampire Queen. Airship pirates. Swamp bus drivers. The airship pirates, just for clarification, are undead. Because that's an important clarification. Lightning cultists that wear metal rods on their heads. Crystal collectors, kind of like farming. Arctic jackalopes that look out for lost travelers. There should be a horrible noble class that tries to make the population find those crystals in the mines. People that are made of magical hard light. Non-vampire priests who collect blood from the faithful for their leaders in the vampire capital city. With the Cloud City that has like small gondola airships that go in between the Cloud Islands. The metalworkers are a highly trained union collective, philosophically bound to work together. A 30 days of night thing for the vamps that are in small tribes, traveling around to the spots of darkness when they can, and the Queen Rhaena is trying to unite them. There's a cult from the Lost Explorers in the cavern. What if the vampire meets like a hard sunlight person though? But then there is the whole spin-off thing that maybe Rhaena has feelings for someone that is made of the hard sunlight. So then instead either is looking for a route around it and they meet in the darkness because of the care they have for each other. A creature that lives in the nightmare storm and then feeds off of the fear. So it might not even be so much that it's like dangerous in a physical manner, but it feeds off of the fear that it creates in the nightmare storm. Someone mentioned that it would be funny if the lightning rod cult accidentally discovered electrical power because of having the rods on their head. An anglerfish like wyvern that lives in the magical darkness. Siren wave dancers that are like flying fish. Desert traders that are never seen without their terrifying pets. This is a world. A buzzard or vulture-like creature. World building can be very stressful, but it's one of the reasons why, in general, if I'm world building, I like world building with other people. I like world building with Twitter. I like world building with the party that I'm playing with. Or I like just sitting down and world building with all of you right here on Twitch. So if I this is not this is counting them all together essentially. And I'm just going to drop in a bunch that I wrote down and saved. If I'm counting the biomes, the locations, the tiger-sized sphinx, oh lord. The biomes, the locations, the NPCs, and the landmarks. Let's see how many ideas we've come up with here, like combined. This is 65 ideas at least. 65 different options. Now, with some of the different things, it's more like 15 options. It's like 20 options. It varies a little bit. In a little over an hour, we've come up with 65 different options for our world. I'm glad you enjoying it is what makes it matter. What would the light people do for fun? Play with prisms, have those balls of star patterns. Maybe they're the people that function the safest in this darkness. Thank you, Rex. So right off the bat, we have 65 different options, and it varies depending on which category we're talking about, obviously. But we built a world. And who are these people in detail? We don't even know yet. It could be any type of person. There could be one particular person of light that is of interest. We have a name for Reyna, but we have so many people that aren't named. What would Reyna be like in your world? Where does Reyna want to stay? We have all those different biomes. We have the Arctic. Maybe there's less sun there, so they actually reside there. Maybe they are vampires that are relatively related to the cold. What if they're vampires that aren't actually the type that burn in the sun, but instead they put them like they're the type of vampires that are just hindered by the sun. And honestly, I will talk to the rest of the team about getting these kinds of things into Roll20, because I like the idea that if we collaborate on these things together, then we can put these ideas out for people to work with. So yeah, I'll absolutely reach out about that. That sounds fantastic. That'd be fun. I have a bunch of ideas of like Roll20 marketplace stuff that I want to sit and do, and I need to just do it. You know what? I love daywalkers. I love the concept of daywalkers where they are kind of strong during the day, but they are incredibly strong during night. I love that time aspect, so that it's not that they're hindered during the day, but it doesn't really work. Okay. Yep. But yeah, so if I can do this stuff to help, then it is absolutely my pleasure. If like these conversations, and we can do more of these. This doesn't have to be just this one day of world building. We could do more world building stuff later on. We can literally have a world, because I gave you the general theme of what I wanted for the world, in a very loose way. So if we have more details, then we have even more we can build on. So if this is something that you actively liked, I'm going to give you the spill of share the video, support, invite people to watch, or have people watch the VOD, or support us on YouTube. Do you have companion building tools that are available on my pro account? Honestly, I might sooner than later, considering some of the things that I have been working on behind the scenes that I cannot fully talk about yet. But there is a lot of stuff that is being improved, which makes me very happy to be able to work with the Roll20 team on stuff. For lack of a better word, I'm excited about some of the stuff that is coming up. And like, one of my favorite things to do is charts and building tools for world building, which is why I like having these conversations and building the charts and building the tools for stuff like that. And getting more handouts for that on Roll20, just for people in general, I think would make a huge difference in making people more comfortable, especially if it's something that's like, it doesn't have to be system specific. If you have like a list of 1d20 NPCs, and then you can use Roll20 to roll and generate it for you, in my opinion, it makes it a lot easier. So if this stuff you do all appreciate and you like and you would want to see in the Roll20 marketplace, I'll absolutely make like more of a push to try to get more of my creative stuff like that out on that, just to make it a little bit easier, have the digital rolling done for you, help you pick the characters, because there's like the deck of cards and stuff. And I like doing this stuff. If this is stuff that like I can make a difference and then be paid for, it's exciting. So let's see. Yeah, Dracula was a daywalker. They hibernate during the summer months and come out in the long winter months. Maybe a group of people that are able to combine with animal companions to share their strengths. Yes. Actually, Sphinx, you might be getting a ranger subclass made in your name at some point. So I'm gonna get back to you on that. Where's my pen? Why have you failed me when I found it. Why have you failed me when I needed you the most? Okay. All right. Oh my gosh. Now you're dead. Okay. So we have NPCs now. All right. Let's finish up a little bit of this world, and then we can go to more of the interaction. They can be elusive. Then we can go to more of, we've been interacting the whole time. We can do questions. So we have landmarks, we have locations, we have NPCs, we have biomes, we have weather. What are some quests? What are some adventures? What are some events? What are some mini quests? What is some stuff that people need to do, or people could be hired to do in this world? What ideas do you have? What do you have? I think, let's see. I think finding the different groups of the vampires in almost like the darkness, or the daywalkers, could be one. Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. What are some different events or quests or experiences in this world? What are some things that people are hired to do? What are some notions that people are seeking resolution for? I'm sure that there is something going on in that place of crashed airships, and those undead pirates are protecting something. But we need the people in the floating city of the floating mountains. They need something. One person needs something. He's been seeking it for a long time. But now these adventurers, this group, they might be able to get it. But it doesn't always have to be conflict. Like, again, shout out to Butt Prince. Marine biology quest to discover the mating habits of the bliss whales. That's so uniquely interesting. It's not even focused on combat or conflict. It's focused on curiosity and interest and information. And how different could you take that? What kind of different ways are there to it? Is it a seasonal thing? Is it a every 5-10 years thing? Is it only in this one area when these specific circumstances come together? There's a loud bird. Why? Oh, are you done? That was weird. That was the worst. Lord. So let's see. Rebuilding a cooperative society after the fall of those oppressive oligarchs. I like it. Artifact is weaponized, causing cavern to open near cities. Find it and put it out of commission. Bat Squatch needs a mate. Maybe hiring people to test out the various magical equipment made to make life easier in the harsh environments. There is, and you know it, because like we said, these are essentially different harsh environments. What else? Yes, I mentioned airships need something recovered from the graveyard for people in the mountains. What are some of the ideas? Recovering a group of escorting Raina to visit her hard light lover. Recovering a group of light people that were taken and finding that they were held captive and power the pirate ships. So needing to destroy those ships. Oh no, that's genius and so sad. Wow, I love that, and also that makes me very sad. And that right there is like, well, I guess I have to destroy them. Swamp is running dry. Fresh water has been diverted. Yep. Okay. Stevie Wonder's hit Hard Light Lover. I mean, maybe there is a bard who made a song. Weavy Sunder. Yep, hold on. The bard. Hard Light Lover. About Raina. And maybe they're just singing, the vampire queen Raina has a hard light lover, and no one can say she'd ever seek out another. Is the hard light lover. She won't seek out another. Is the hard light lover. Did I mention Raina's my mother? Oh, would that make them a step parent? That took a weird turn. We don't talk about that. We don't talk about that either. People think that children born during magical Bliss Fog are magical. So some are abducted and need to be saved. Oh, you know what? I wouldn't be shocked if people... But look at that. Someone is using crystal rain to target vampire priest class members, turning them to statues. How and why? You know, I never thought about that. But if someone could harvest that crystal rain, like to capture it and like basically like a water gun and then sprayed someone with it. Ooh. Ooh, that's interesting. Oh, that's terrifying and so interesting. Water cannons. Ah, no. Okay, you know what? I like the idea that someone has been uh I can't it's like there's a word for things that water like rejects. And it's not water soluble, but that was the first thing that came to mind. And it's not water retention is about holding water. And is it the so there's the polarity inside like water insoluble, um the different polarities. I can't impermeable. Hydrophobic. Thank you. Yes. Hydrophobic. Yes. So maybe someone has been working on like hydrophobic clothing or like a layer or like a barrier around their body so that the crystal rain doesn't actually affect people the same. And they have a prototype idea, but the prototype was stolen or there was a schematic for it stolen. All right, maybe the magical darkness became infused into a large group of ravens so that the darkness travels with their migration pattern. That is wicked awesome. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to start reading just some of the NPCs. I promised that I ate already. So I guess I'm just a food brain. Um I'm going to start reading out some of the NPC ideas. If you keep having more, feel free to keep saying them because I will put everything in a collection. And then if you have any questions, like not even related to world building or just questions you had, again, remember you can put question in all caps and then we will do questions. We haven't had too many questions today, partially because we're actually like talking together and it's something that I love because I love having the conversations. So, oh my gosh, let's look at all these quest ideas that we have. Good Lord, this is a big list. I'm going to have fun like putting this stuff together. So, marine biology quest to discover the mating habits of bliss whales. Overarching idea, rebuilding a cooperative society after the fall of those oppressive oligarchs. Artifact is weaponized, causing caverns to open near cities. Find it and put it out of commission. Hiring people to test out various magical equipment made to make life easier in the harsh environment. And it's a broad, open idea. I love that because then there's so many different environments that we literally came up with that would be interesting ways to delve into it. One of the cities on the back of a sea beast, has not been seen for a good amount of time. Where did it go? What happened to it? Are the people okay? Did it actually settle somewhere else? Did the beast die? Undead air pirates are expanding their influence and upping their numbers, and even new ships are being built. Why? Pixies didn't come by in Bliss Fog this year. What happened to them? A famous siren singer had their voice stolen by a big media corporation. This one might get you in trouble with Disney. Airship needs something recovered from the graveyard for people in the mountains. Escorting Reyna to visit her hard light lover. I didn't clip the song, and I will not. Recovering a group of light people that were taken and finding that they are held captive and power the pirate ships. So you need to destroy those ships. They're literally using them as solar energy, but the solar energy is people, which is a cool, terrifying, sad, tragic, but very intriguing idea in its own way. What if they're like, they can heat their bodies up and like shoot flaming energy? And anyways, um, the swamp is running dry. Fresh water has been diverted. People think that children during a Bliss Fog are magical, so some of them were abducted and need to be saved. Someone is using crystal rain to target vampire priest class members and turning them into statues. How and why? Someone has been working on a hydrophobic device magic object, and the schematics were stolen or the prototype was stolen. Maybe the magical darkness became infused into a large group of ravens so that the darkness travels with their migration pattern, and with that, certain creatures of the night. The lightning rod priests have quests to find superconductive artifacts from the ancient civilizations. Hydrophobic material is made from things from each of the cities. Seaweed, mangroves, crystals, something from the Arctic. Hit it with lightning and you got it. So then it creates a collaborative experience of them going to the different cities, maybe related to like the schematic stuff that person was asking for. Maybe this is the precursor to it. The lightning dragon makes an appearance, takes up lair in a cloud city, and controls the inhabitants, and is using them to destroy the vampires because they are finding ways to take the blood of his people, the light people. The glass roads of the desert traders travel on it being shattered by something. And I love that we had that glass road mentioned earlier from the lightning striking in the desert. So if something is happening on those roads, what is it? Cloud dwarves that mine clouds for the crystals that keep them afloat. These aren't just normal clouds. And a quest to get the help of the cloud dwarves to help the lightning priests because their power is being shunted. So now there's two societies. There's cloud dwarves and lightning priests that are working in cohabitation in a way. This is a whole world. And I will put this note of ideas and the names of all of you that have contributed, because I copied and saved the stuff, because it shows literally how big, expansive, and like interesting of a world that we can build. And if you saw some of this stuff and you liked these ideas, use them in your worlds. Take this inspiration to build a world of your own. Collaborate with others to build your world, because you will have the final say usually in the world that you're creating, because you're sitting there and putting it together yourself. You don't always have to have the final say, though. Sometimes someone else might have an interesting idea that's exciting to just delve into. Sometimes it's just nice to get other people's input. A lot of these ideas that I was seeing to build a world were ones that I never would have considered. And yeah, doing this kind of thing with a system agnostic note, adding mechanics to the game is an extra step. But I feel like when you do collaborative world building, you basically get that step back anyways. You get the step back because then it's not relying on you to come up with all of the little details. It's just, as the GM, you might be the one coming up with a general idea. And then it's like, you know what? How do I want them to deal with this? Well, maybe I want magical darkness to work this way. It's flexible because you can change it to whatever you want it to work like. This is collaborative world building. This is collaborative storytelling. Yeah, and it could be dropped in almost any game. That's one of my favorite things. I like building system agnostic stuff because in another tabletop episode, I mentioned finding the game for you. And the game that you want to be a party member in might not be the game that you want to be the GM for. But you might want to have the same idea that you had in both. And that's always okay. You might love world building and Zweihander, But when you run the game, it might be more complicated than you expected to try to run it. So you run something else. I remember playing Zweihander for the first time, and I was like, this is interesting. I also don't know entirely what I'm doing. And then when I ran the game, there were a bunch of rules that we didn't use when I was GM that we used when I was a player. But I came up with creative spins to how things worked. I had general world building ideas, and I'm like, okay, well, actually, how am I going to make this function? Well, actually, you know what? Let's do it this way because of this. The party was like, hell yeah, cool. All right, let's do it. If you have a group that you want to run for, you want to GM for, and you actively want to build the world. Ooh, hold on. The foghorn lighthouses could all have a crystal that resonates at a different frequency for the echolocation. Some crystals are broken, so new ones need to be found. I am immediately distracted by lore. That is who I am. So, sorry. When you're running the game, when you're GMing, when you're telling a story with a group, you're allowed, you're okay to make changes. If you want to build it from the ground up yourself, that's okay. Do it. If you want help from the people you're playing with, reach out of like, do you all have any ideas for characters or locations or quests that you might want to do? Ask. And they might inspire something you never thought of. World building, I'd say, can always be a collaborative effort, because even if you're trying to avoid your party having secret knowledge that you want to add on to, they only know as much as you tell them and acknowledge on it. If they say they want to rescue a prince of the cloud dwarves from wherever, and you're like, cool, I'm going to put that quest in. They might go to the Cloud Dwarf City. It doesn't mean that prince has to be there. They could encounter a figure who is specifically just talking to them or disguised and speaks to them and says, well, actually, I'm looking for this thing in this place. Would you be able to help me find it? And at that moment, maybe they look like a lizard person because of magic or just something else. If you still want to have surprises, there's dozens of ways to throw them in. But taking in the ideas that they have, you can still twist surprises into that. You can still make it fun and interesting and different. The world building collaboration does not have to take away from excitement and surprise of the world. And in fact, I'd say if someone knows what might happen somewhere, if they know this might be their idea, and then they get to explore it and enjoy it as like just a member of the party, that might be even more exciting. Because all of you that worked through building this world with me right now, if you got the chance to play in this world using one of the locations that you mentioned and one of the quests that you mentioned, seeing how it interacted, would that not be exciting? I would. It's part of why I want to sit here and make this little document and put it together. And then as a thank you for all of you spending this time with me to build this world, to put this world into reality. It's exciting. And we're probably going to be, so there was one question that popped up. So if you can pull that up for me, Salty. Do you generally like to start with the world at large or a specific area? I usually, for myself, start with, if if I have like it's I'm rambling. It's all about energy for me. If I have the energy to be creative, I'll start doing like what we did today and coming up with like different areas and environments and settings and reactions and people. I'll start wide and then like pinpoint on where I want to start. If I'm a little drained, I'll usually start in a specific area because then I have that scope of working at a smaller point and not stressing myself out. Then I'm not like, well, I gotta have this and this and this and this and that too and this and that too and that too. It's like, you know what? They're gonna start in this town. Then I'll ask them, what are they looking for? Because you can world build, and a lot of people do because it's improv. I've been talking for a long time. You can world build while you're playing. You could literally ask your party, and they might not have an answer, but if they do, it's exciting. What sort of shop are you looking for? You're looking for a blacksmith? Okay, there are actually 2 blacksmiths. You're looking specifically for something in armor. Okay, that's gonna be the one on the the F side of town, the west side of town. That right there. So then they have an idea that they helped put together. You might not have ever considered a blacksmith in the town, but now there is one. There is one specifically that focuses on armor just from asking the questions, the little bit of prompting together. I am. This water bottle was full when I started. And that's so fair. There's a lot of times that if the players aren't guaranteed to go there, I don't include because sometimes it's frustrating when you don't see that circumstance. So then every now and then I'll like guide my party to different places that seem interesting, or after I have an idea, I'll flesh it out, or I'll even like give them a map and specify there's a bunch of different areas actually to explore on the map for different things to do, all these different places. So there's all kinds of stuff. Thank you for joining me today and building this world, and I will take some time over the next few days and get this just like little system together and then share it to say that this is literally what we made sitting on a stream for a little under 2 hours talking and creating. If you do appreciate the stuff, just watch the videos, talk about it, share it with people. That's one of the best ways to support it, because I've said it once, I've said it twice, I said it 3 times, including this whole rant. But what I want to do here is inspire you, motivate you, and give you the reassurance that you can, in fact, be a fantastic storyteller. You can tell the stories in ways that you see other people do and you adore. You are creative, chaotically so. When you collaborate with others, we can create amazing things, just like this. So thank you again to Roll20 for giving me this like open circumstance to talk. If you're watching on YouTube later, thank you for watching and commenting and interacting. It like makes a difference, especially because then more people get to see it, and that is a good thing. If you didn't know, Roll20 is working with code 2040. You can donate actually, and they're matching donations up to $50,000 in donations, which is kind of a big deal. Code 2040 works a lot with the tech industry, and specifically with like Black and Latinx designers, workers, people in the technology field, which you can probably guess why that makes a difference for me. Opportunity makes one hell of a difference. I wouldn't be able to have these conversations without opportunity in the first place. Roll20Con is also coming up soon. It is October 23rd to the 25th. There is a whole bunch of stuff happening. I will be going through like some of the new dynamic lighting stuff. I will also hopefully, all things like fingers crossed, have a guest for my next episode of Tabletop Tabletalk next week, because we talked a little bit about like GM burnout and then a little bit about GM-less games. But I feel like as a GM, talking about GM-less games is something that people should do more, because it's a nice way to take a break and also work on the collaborative world building we just had. Every episode accidentally ties into intentionally ties into the next one. Totally on purpose, 100% meant to do it. This is something that I've planned out extensively. Don't look at my notes. But yeah, if you have any questions, anything you want to talk about with like tabletop stuff, you can find me on Twitter at GabeJamesGames. My DMs are open. I try to check them like every couple days. If I don't respond right away, I've also been trying to not be on social media as much, because I realize it like emotionally exhausts me, and I'm trying to avoid a sense of burnout, literally like GM burnout. But I will try to get back to you, even if you just like comment or something. I love doing this. I love getting the chance to stream and talk to people. This is literally one of the best parts of my week. And we built one hell of a world. Wow. So yeah, the video should be up on YouTube in literally like a day or two, because I am now more efficient at managing this. It took a couple tries, but YouTube, I have won. I'm looking at you, YouTube, in the future, but also the past. I don't know. Nope, not doing that again. Thank you for coming out and joining me. And you are chaotically creative. Have an amazing day. Keep creating. And hopefully I'll see you next week.